With episode 3 of Severance recently released, and it being the first episode in season 2 that truly advanced the plot by allowing all of the characters to branch off into their separate arcs, the season has now well and truly begun. This show is deliberate in its attempt to confuse its viewers and also make us question, guess, and theorize about pretty much everything that we see. In this video, I will be doing exactly that for the next episode, from Miss Cobel to Dylan and Gretchen, to Irving and his hunt for the export hallway, as well as the now in and outy connected mind of Mark. So with that, let's discuss theories on all things Severance Episode 4. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers for all episodes before it. Dylan's conflict with his outie. One major thing I think we could see occurring in the next episode and beyond is some kind of rift between the innie version of Dylan and the outie version of himself. The seed for this was definitely planted in the most recent episode, where the innie version called the outie version a screw-up for never really being able to find his career path. It seems like that mindset and attitude he has toward himself will likely continue as he learns more about the outie version. What I found particularly interesting was that the outie version of Dylan, despite being severed, came across as quite lazy when he was at home. He was sitting on the couch and not even bothering to make the pre-made cookies for his kids that Gretchen asked him to do. Don't get me wrong, after a long, hard day at work, there's nothing better than just sitting back on the couch, relaxing, and watching TV. But this version of Dylan hadn't been at work, so there wasn't really an excuse for him not to help out. The innie version of Dylan, on the other hand, is quite literally the polar opposite. He's a hard worker and is acknowledged and respected for the work he does at Lumon. Whereas on the outside, it seems Dylan couldn't really care less because he hasn't found his thing yet. I wonder if that's why Dylan got severed in the first place, because he simply couldn't be bothered with work. Everybody has their reason for getting severed, and I feel like that could be Dylan's. Maybe through laziness and feeling uninspired. I also think this lack of inspiration and gloom in the outie version of Dylan will have consequences, and that could come in the form of Gretchen becoming more attracted to the innie version of Dylan. This might even spark a potential romantic connection between them. This would tie into the wider theme of the value of an innie life compared to that of an outie, because realistically, they're two different entities that operate within the same body. So there is value to the innie life for certain. Plus, the moral question of whether Gretchen is cheating on her husband will probably be explored if she does anything with the innie version of Dylan, because technically it's the same body as the outie version. Would that be wrong? We've never seen an innie and an outie have a feud before, but I feel like we could see that happening, considering that both versions of Dylan couldn't be farther apart from one another. The innie version of Dylan will most likely make Gretchen feel valued again and spark the romantic connection that made her fall in love with the outie version of Dylan all those years ago. Both versions of Dylan treat Gretchen differently as well, and I think she'll appreciate the interest the innie version shows toward her and their children, especially when compared to the grumpy, uninspiring attitude the outie version displays. I hope we see this arc develop because it will be entertaining and provide thought-provoking moments about whether what's happening is morally right or wrong. The loyalty shift of Harmony. I believe loyalties are definitely going to shift in the next episode, and we'll likely see this most with Miss Cobel, and maybe even Mr. Milch. Miss Cobel is already drifting to the other side of the fence. In fact, I don't think she'll ever truly be on the side of MDR. I believe she will solidify her stance against Lumon if they don't give her the position she feels she deserves, something they'll never do. Looking back at her actions in Season 1 of the show, we saw Harmony had a breathing tube in her car connected to Charlotte Cobel, an individual who seemed to have been born in 1944. Based on that, it could well have been her mother's, and I feel that loss is something she may never have properly gotten over. This loss may have ultimately led Harmony down the path she's on now as a loyal Keir Egan supporter and an indoctrinated individual who has been prepared to devote her life to the cause. We know that she attended Myrtle Egan School for Girls, which is said to be a highly regimented indoctrination program for girls. Possibly orphans, so maybe once her mother died, she could have landed in that school because she could have been orphaned. I think we're actually about to sympathize with Harmony Cobel. Who would have thought it? Right? This could be, as we hopefully learn more about her past upbringing and the pain she went through when she was younger. I wonder if Salt Neck could be where she was raised and why she was planning on driving there at the beginning of episode 3, with her driving off again at the end of the episode. Maybe we'll see her actually going there this time. There was a moment in the most recent episode where we saw that Harmony got spooked once she saw the driver of Helena's car. She stopped in her tracks, walked away, and drove off without saying a word. Personally, I thought she realized that maybe Helena and the board were planning on resetting her or putting her through some kind of procedure if she entered Lumon. That way, she wouldn't be able to spill all of the information she's aware of that goes on within Lumon, things that could be damaging if the press got hold of them. Lumon already has a lot of speculation and negativity in the press. So, her being reset could have almost been like a failsafe for them. However, with her walking off, that's something that won't be possible now. With her being treated the way she is, I feel we're going to see her turn her back on the cult of Keir, Egan, and Lumon. She'll navigate this isolated period of her life where she quite literally has nobody but the memory and an item that represents her mother. Another element of the show I think we'll see explored in the next episode is based on Irving. Irving didn't feature heavily in episode 3, but I feel like we could see him play a larger role in the next episode. This is due to the revelation and breadcrumbing that was done around the meaning of the paintings he saw when he was in his A.T.I. form. We found out in episode 3 that the hallway that had been plaguing his mind is the hallway that leads to Exports, the place where nobody goes anymore other than one guy. We know that Irving trusts this person the most out of the people in MDR, and he's been suspicious about Helly from the moment they got back there. I wonder if he's going to confide in Dylan about what Felicia told him. I think this will spark Irving to go on the hunt for the Exports hallway. I think Exports is the place where Lumon potentially takes people who are out of line, and it's almost like a disposal room. Exports is essentially another word for outgoing, sending away, or getting rid of. It's essentially getting off of the perimeter, so I feel there's a bad connotation there for sure. The real question, though, is why does Irving have a connection to this hallway, and why is he painting it on the outside? I wonder if, in the past, Irving was maybe sent to Exports, and it was a traumatizing experience. When looking back at what Helena said to Miss Cobel in this episode, she said, "It doesn't have to be this way. Why don't we reset?" I wonder if, following Irving going to Exports, he had this reset procedure done to him. Could that be why his, T.I. is able to have some kind of memory of this hallway? Maybe parts of his mind were bleeding into his A.T.I. mind. It did make me also question if Irving was reintegrated at some point, but I don't think that's the case because there are clearly two different sides to the character. His mourning for the loss of birth is something that will continue to develop and dictate his sorrowful mindset and attitude. The biggest moment in episode 3 came when Mark underwent the reintegration procedure, and the A.T.I. version of his mind and the inversion of his mind started operating as one. This is something that's going to be game-changing for the show. We've got a reintegrated Mark in MDR, potentially Helena and not Helly on the floor, Irving hunting for the Exports room, and Dylan being against his A.T.I. The dynamic shift in the group is crazy. With Mark being reintegrated, I feel we're going to see him doubling down on looking for Miss Casey and Gemma. Now that he knows everything the inversion of himself did, the two sides of information that previously couldn't be shared might end up being beneficial in his hunt for his wife. I also wonder where this leaves Mark and Helly. Mark's mind now essentially operates as one, and he's going to be primarily looking for his wife. But at the same time, any part of his mind will still be caring for Helly. So I think that would be a conflict of interest that we'll most likely see being developed, with reintegration being a procedure that's almost done down a back alley and something that's not recognized by Lumon. I wonder if it will come back to get Mark at all. We don't truly know if there are any side effects that will occur and what the long-term damage could be from blending two parts of your mind into one. Surely, it can't be as easy as what we saw. Mark might have some trouble on the horizon. The title of the next episode is Woe's Hole, and the definition of woe is great sorrow or distress. That is definitely the undertone and mood of the season so far, but we've seen it most with Harmony Cobel. I think this means we could potentially see the sorrowful side of Harmony Cobel being explored, along with the isolation she's going to experience. As you can see, There are quite a few different directions the next episode of the show could take. However, these are a few key points that I think could be covered. There you have it, Severance Season 2, Episode 4 Theories Explained. If you want to see more videos on Severance Season 2, click on the card in the top corner. I'm breaking down every episode, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a video. What do you think will happen next? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.